Good morning and welcome to the Monday Call, brought to you by NZ Funds. In a time where we're working longer, harder and older, we're demanding more from our bodies and diets. Nootropics are a classification of supplements or drugs that are said to improve brain function and give us cognitive boost. Caffeine is probably the most well-known, but there are many more. According to some projections, the global nootropic market is set to reach $6.6 billion by 2026. Our guests today are the co-founders of Ārepa, New Zealand's most successful nootropic brand. Angus Brown and Zac Robinson started Ārepa, which makes natural blackcurrant-based food products that benefit the brain both in the short and the long term. Our guests are entrepreneurs with a passion for good health and backgrounds in marketing and design. They have created what could be described as a cult brand, popular with millennials and used in homes and offices to help people achieve mental clarity while calming nerves. Welcome, Angus, Zac. Great to have you here. Before we launch into things, I thought I would set the scene with a few recent achievements. Ārepa achieved distribution last year in 1,700 stores, became the highest valued health drink in New Zealand supermarkets, won gold twice at the New Zealand Artisan Awards, and launched a rebrand. And on top of all of that, completed 2 clinical studies and started a third. That is impressive. It's great to have you here. Thank you for joining us. Take us back to the beginning. Where did the idea for Ārepa even come from?
Yeah, it's good to be here. Thanks, Stefan. So the idea kind of came from my experience of last year at high school. Grew up in Hawke's Bay, and last year at high school lost a friend to mental health, and kind of that impacted me a little bit as it would. And went through university, and kind of really learned the hard way about working and partying hard and then feeding yourself just junk, and then realizing kind of what you put in actually really affects not only your physical health but your mental health as well. And then got a job working and selling energy drinks. It's first year out of university, and when I first started, I thought, oh, this is an amazing company. It's really exciting. Red Bull had sent someone to the moon, and the whole space of the $60 billion energy drink market was exploding. And I thought this would be a cool place to work in FMCG. But what I quickly realized was that I was essentially selling caffeine and sugar to the masses, and within the first year of working there, I had lost 2 grandparents to brain-related illnesses. And then I remember selling a whole bunch into a supermarket and seeing a girl, like a young girl, walk out with one of the large cans of the stuff. And I just thought, man, am I doing any good here? I'm selling diabetes and anxiety into New Zealand, and is this really? Should I be spending my time on this? And so kind of started to think why can't a drink that can improve brain health and performance exist? And why can't it be caffeine free and all natural? And why can't it use unique to New Zealand ingredients? And why can't it be as big as Red Bull? Why can't we kind of take what's special about New Zealand and take it to the world stage? And so I called up my university mate, Zac, and kind of said, hey man, I'm looking to do a brain drink, are you interested in helping me?
Yeah, I guess for me, where that kind of came in, I was working in Sydney at the time, and I was working at a design agency there, and I myself was going through my own, mental health awakening. I was dealing with, high pressure jobs, stress and all these things. And I think I had my first panic attack, and I was obviously realizing the importance on, looking after your brain. And then, Angus gave me a call about this, and I was like, this is a product I want. And if it's a product I want and I need, I'm sure there's other people out there. And so that's when we kind of partnered up together. And yeah, the rest, well, not the rest is history, but there's a long time between then and now. There's a lot of water's gone under that bridge. But it's kind of the main reason we got together.
Fantastic. And so you moved back from Sydney, did you? Or how did
that journey, I stayed in Australia for 4 years. So my whole experience with Ārepa and working with Angus, we actually developed this together from other ends of the earth. So I ended up moving to the UK, living there for 6 years as well. And so we were both obviously working two different jobs. Angus was working for the Food Bowl, and I was working in design agencies over there, and ended up working for an electric vehicle startup in the end for a good period of time. And so I basically would spend my working day on the designing electric vehicles, and in the nighttime I'd be working on this with Angus, on anything from, we were designing the drinks, the brand, designing the website, and kind of coming up with a strategy together. And there's a lot of things that happened in between there, is getting the formulation. And we also did our first trade show actually in the UK. I was building the stand like at a mate's place with just some saws, and built the stand, and we managed to be able to get in front of the likes of Harrods, who wanted to stock us. And at that time we were so green that it was hard enough to make a drink in New Zealand and sell it to a supermarket, let alone the other side of the world. So we said no at that time, and kind of focused on New Zealand.
Yeah. And we're in kind of, and just as at that kind of junction of when I reached out to Zac, I left the Food Bowl and was really fortunate to I left working for the energy drink company, and kind of came across this place called the Food Bowl, and it was like this $30 million modular food factory, kind of like a crazy high-tech Willy Wonka factory set up by the New Zealand government to help companies develop new high-value food and beverage products. I kind of knocked on the door and said, hey, I want to develop a brain drink. Can you guys help? And they said, yeah, sure, come in. So I was like the fourth ever client to use the facility. And then I saw that, and I realized that what we're trying to achieve was going to be a much longer journey. And then I thought, hey, this would be an awesome place to work. And a job was going as business development manager there. And I kind of put my hand up, and right time, right place, I got the job. So suddenly I was like catapulted onto the forefront of what food technology was in New Zealand and around the world, and kind of cut my teeth and learned a lot about food tech and what it takes to develop and scale up new high value ideas, and kind of took some of those learnings and applied them to like the pet project that we were working on, which was this brain drink.
And I imagine that would have set you up in many ways, which we'll explore in a little bit. But before that, tell me about the rise in functional foods and the focus on biohacking, and which is a sort of a shift in the broader food market. It's become, my understanding, it's become a massive growth market. How do you define nootropics, and where does Ārepa fit in?
Yeah, so when we first started on this journey, the word nootropic was kind of like how we defined ourselves, but we think progressing more and what our goals are a lot more broader than what the nootropic category is. We think like nootropics are kind of reserved for, biohackers or, university students for exams, or Silicon Valley CEOs, but our goal is to make brains work better worldwide. And so we don't really class ourselves as a nootropic. We class ourselves as brain food because that's so much more accessible. And so for the bigger goal that we have is to delay the onset of neurological decline worldwide. And for every year that we can push out neurological decline through scalable, accessible, science-backed brain food, we can save the world up to $500 billion worth of economic burden. And so we're working with health economists now to figure out what our impact is of injecting these polyphenol-rich, bioactive brain drinks and brain supplements into the market. And through our clinical research, we can actually quantify the impact, not only from a cognitive health perspective, but also in the future, we can kind of show the economic burden saved by consuming foods like us instead of an energy drink.
Okay, well, I mean, it's a very big goal, and the benefit of describing it in that sort of, because you could, of course, talk to, what you obviously delaying onset of neurological disorder is personally a really important thing, but you framed it as a sort of a big social issue, and that's your big, hairy, audacious goal that you're trying to tackle.
Yeah, like I guess the benefits that we are uncovering and unlocking through our clinical research, and the key features that we want people to use us for are kind of three based. So the first one is around improving performance, and it's really around improving mental performance under different types of stress. That might be mental stress, it might be physical stress, or it might be environmental stress. And so we're doing clinical studies and have published research to show that we can genuinely improve one's ability to cognitively perform under those types of stresses versus a taste-matched placebo. And these are all like double-blind crossover placebo-controlled studies, which cost a lot and take a long period of time. And so that's the performance side. The other side is that, and what we saw with the rise of energy drinks and caffeine, was that people were becoming more heightened, but their stress was also being exacerbated. And there weren't a lot of products out there that reduced your stress without making you drowsy. And so we wanted our product to not only increase your performance, but reduce your stress. So that's more of the research that we're doing. And then we wanted to prove that if you were to consume our product on a more regular basis, we could actually improve the health of your brain over the long term. And so, and again, both as well as the stress and the long term, we're doing clinical studies now to show that. And one of them, which we've been really fortunate to have, is Dementia Australia identified our product, and the University of Wollongong, who was going for this big dementia grant, actually identified our product out of a whole range of food and beverages and fruits and vegetables available in Australasia. They picked us out of hundreds of other options as the product du jour to be studied in this $700,000 Dementia Australia-backed clinical study on early onset dementia risk Australians. And this is like a Kiwi drinks company, and yet they're studying our product to show that there's like a real chance of a benefit of delaying, like the onset of dementia and neurological decline. But we don't want to be pigeonholed as this like dementia drink. We kind of want to be classed as a brain drink that's accessible for everyone and can help people in a number of different ways.
Reducing stress and improving performance at the same time seem slightly not natural. How does that work? It's different components to the drink. Is that right?
Yeah, there's different compounds in the drink that kind of work in different ways. And so, yeah, like without like trying to simplify it, basically there's polyphenols in our beverage sourced from our blackcurrant or our pine bark or our theanine that either improve blood flow and oxygen to the brain. And when you improve blood flow and oxygen to the brain can perform better and is less stressed. And then there are compounds in those bioactives that actually work on a neurotransmitter pathway where they upregulate neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. So yeah, there's like a multi-pronged benefit, and what we're trying to do is to prove that in different types of clinical studies. So we've got the right evidence to back up what we believe we're showing that we can do.
Did you discover these compounds and then build the drink that way? So, well, this is tasty and has health benefits, and then I'll create a drink around it? Or did you go, hey, I want to create this product that has these properties. What do I need to do to find to deliver that?
Yeah, we worked. So Zac and I spent ages, Google searching and throwing all these ingredients into a bottle. When I would take my annual leave off at the food bowl and use it as a client, and we were pressing blueberries and mixing it with pine bark and putting it through this kind of high pressure pasteurizer, and it would turn into jelly and taste like a tree, and it would be horrible. Delicious. And then we kind of thought, well, bugger it. Like if we're genuinely going to try and develop the world's smartest beverage, we probably need one of the world's smartest, neuroscientists that's in this field to help us develop that. And so we came across this guy called Professor Andrew Scholey, who's one of the top psychopharmacologists in the world that's super experienced in the space of natural extracts and their effects on brain health and performance. And he was the Centre Director for Human Psychopharmacology at Swinburne University in Melbourne, and has published, some of the highest amount of journals in this field, and is ranked in the top 2% in the world of total scientists in terms of published research cited. And so we basically pestered him for 6 months, these two kids, just to say, hey, I know you do research for, Red Bull and GlaxoSmithKline and Nestle and Unilever, but what would it take for you to develop a formula for us? And our mission is to create, we want to create a brain drink that can increase mental performance, reduce stress, make your brain healthier in the long term, be caffeine free, be all natural, be safe, because we don't want stupid kids to drink 10 of them and die. And on top of all of that, can you at least include one unique to New Zealand ingredient so that we can vertically integrate with that supply chain and have something that's kind of scalable and that we can protect? He said, gosh, that's quite a tight brief.
You know exactly what I've been asked to do.
Yeah, and then it was, something like, okay, well, give me 4 months and like $60,000 or $70,000. I can't remember the exact amount. And, it was like 3 or 4 year olds. We were just like, it's a lot of money to just stump up with for a formula on paper. So we went to friends and family, and we're really fortunate where we got some angel investment, and it was truly angel investment at that stage, and got him to develop this formula. And he kind of came back to us, 4 months later with a dossier, about an inch thick of a range of ingredients, but he kind of landed on 3, and 2 of them were unique to New Zealand. This pine bark extract that's used as a natural alternative to Ritalin medication for ADHD children, and used in adults as well. And it's used in high doses for concussion recovery, and black currants. And more specifically, we've identified and these varieties that have got really high amounts of this kind of neuroactivity that we call neuroberry. So that was really cool, but it took like another year to make it taste nice, because pine bark doesn't exactly taste that great.
In a former life, I tried some pine bark vodka, and
wow,
yeah, in Slovakia or anyway. But I can attest that it does not taste nice. It is the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
Cool. So, I mean, that's a great story. And then how I guess, are there others in the market trying to do something similar?
In our space, there are people who are trying to do, the better for you category is growing. But in our space of brain health, there is no direct competitor to us, and it's not in a way of saying arrogantly. It's the amount of research and we've put into this product, and we're really setting the bar really high here. Where we've got probably another 7 clinical studies underway at the moment. We've created a product that we want to make sure that works, and we prove it's works. So we're kind of setting up, anyone can create a drink, put a few ingredients in and sell it. But what we want to be selling to people is genuine brain health. And so in that space, there's no one really coming close to us. And we know that through many meetings we've had with very large, multinationals, and they're interested in the space, but we're even in front of them with the amount of research that we have. So, yeah.
And so, I mean, that must be a niche that they're not operating in properly. How do they respond to that?
Danone have an anti-Alzheimer's drink that's like a bunch of kind of dairy extracts and vitamin E and D, and but it's like kind of reserved for pharmacies, and it's this kind of chocolate milk drink, and it's not really scalable and accessible or sustainable for that matter. And we know from kind of I guess, little birdies that the bigger guys who are in energy are actually forecasting a decline in consumption of energy drinks and a shift towards this functional, better for you space.
Yep.
So we know that the bigger guys are kind of coming for us. But what we've done is we've created quite a defensible moat around our product from ingredient kind of exclusivity and vertical integration, but as well as doing clinical research on the finished formula, so they can't leverage our science, and then as well as our patents that actually protect the formulation, which we're actually having to use and kind of do now against people who are coming too close to it.
Right. Okay. So I guess besides finding the professor and getting all the different elements together, what have been the key challenges you've faced in taking the concept to market and building it up?
I mean, probably
there's a list.
Convincing investors to throw money at clinical research. Yeah. But we've said no to a lot of investment opportunities now because we're kind of through the other end now. But like, you know, in the early stages, it was like getting that capital on board and the belief that we can actually do this. It was convincing a retailer to stock and retail a beverage that retailed at twice the price of everything else on the market. But we've done that now, and now we're the kind of favorite drink for these retailers because their return on shelf space is so much stronger with us than anything else available. Like supply chain. So we bought more black currants than Ribena did this year. And so we're having to look at our global supply chain to figure out where we can source these neuroberries from to ensure that when we go to markets like the US, we have the scale to match. And we've been really fortunate where we've had both the current CEO and the ex-CEO of Zespri invest in us. And naturally, they're used to, supply chain and scalability. So we've learned a lot. And Lane, who's the ex-CEO, he's come on board as a director as well. And that's been like fundamentally huge improvement for us from a company perspective. Other challenges, I don't know.
I think one of the things which kind of comes back to, we're the frontiers of the space, so the consumer's not looking, we didn't know this existed. So we're out there having to educate customers that, hey, and like kind of pioneer, like you should look after your brain and here's a product that actually does that for you and it's clinically proven and it's better for you. That's been so that's kind of the hard thing for us as well, is because it's not like, I guess, you said the kombucha market, people know that they exist, they go out there and it's available, but they're not actively going out, or it used to be. Now it's changed a lot in New Zealand. People are looking out for the brain drink and walking around and they can find it in quite a lot of places now. But, back in the days, trying to convince a buyer that, you could sell this drink, it was quite a tall ask for them. But, thankfully we've been proven right. And our customers keep coming back. So
that's great. I guess developing a market is quite a different mindset and strategy needs to be deployed from competing with existing operators or organizations in the market. So
we're getting braver and bigger in our marketing investment to kind of create that top line awareness, and then driving trial into store is something that we really focus on. And what we know from our data is that we know about 1 in 5 to 1 in 6 people on this planet suffer from neurological concerns. And we know that whenever we come across these consumers, they have a really strong felt effect from us. And whenever they try us and have this felt effect, they become a net positive promoter and have a repeat customer, and they tell all their friends about it. So it's really just trying to drive trial and ensure that we get exposed to as many people, because we know that we'll hook kind of 1 in 5 as mega fans.
Yeah, I guess from a price point, you're sort of super premium, right? And compared to
a
drinks,
butcher,
right?
or a
compared
Coke
to a butcher, right?
Yeah,
so if
sure.
people go into, I guess it's why are they drinking is the question. How do you think about the broader opportunity set for the brand? Do you think you're going to focus on sort of building distribution across multiple, across the globe, or is it more that you're going to think about using what you've got and heading into other verticals?
I think like the main focus for our company is to build out, 10 markets in 10 years. And we kind of want to get to a couple of billion in revenue, and be, a very large New Zealand owned company. And that it'll be through being in the business of brain health, but also being very good at FMCG sales and marketing. But we don't really consider ourselves as a drinks company. We're a brain health company that just happens to be selling food and beverage products. So it's a different mindset shift there. We, through our clinical research and through our research at the likes of Callaghan, we're discovering kind of really unique bioactives that we've got some IP around that could very much so go into a therapeutics range. But when you think about the therapeutic side, there's a lot of investment, and it's more of a niche market, but potentially a higher return. So we're kind of looking into that space now because, for example, we've just shown recently that one of our, just a single bottle of our performance product is the equivalent of daily Parkinson's medication. Like Mal B Parkinson's medication. And so it's like, holy smokes, like we've got like genuine like therapeutic level efficacy. How do we commercialize that in the best way that's got the best impact? Because the problem with food is that if you put yourself out there to say you do, these types of therapeutic benefits, you get
a lot of focus.
You get a lot of heat. And so we kind of think if maybe we just call ourselves a brain drink and, let the consumer discover the benefits or read about it in the published research, then maybe that's the best way to kind of create the most amount of impact and the biggest amount of scale.
On the other hand, the more research you do that supports it, the more credibility the proposition has.
Yeah, exactly. So we're building out a pretty solid dossier of evidence now that can keep the regulators at bay.
You've grown the business through direct-to-consumer and traditional retail channels. How do you think about the two channels? Which one's the biggest for starters now? And then do you see that shifting in the future as the market grows?
Yeah, so at the moment it's about 60,
40.
Yeah, 40 in between, like, and with
70-30, 60-40, retail big, and then online,
online
40-30.
Yeah, so the way that we see it working is obviously as you get to larger scale and larger markets, it's really hard for online to compete with the sheer availability that you have in retail.
Yeah.
But our focus is really, we still run as a kind of dual focus on those, because we have other products that live more online than they do in retail. Like the drinks are more found in retail. We sell a lot of drinks online as well, but we also have other products like a smoothie powder, and we have our capsules. So that's where customers who are feeling genuine, health benefits and things, and they're trying to find other formats. They may not want to drink a drink every day, so they can have capsules, or they can have it in a smoothie powder. So making it really available, and that's kind of comes back to the ethos of we want, by making brains work better, we need to have our product available everywhere. And so you obviously need to be playing online. You also need playing in store. Like you can find our drink in your local supermarket. You can find it at BP. You can find it at a petrol station. So, and that's part of the ethos, has been kind of everywhere. And then that's also why we've gone into other kind of product, verticals as well, is because, like you say, some people may just want a drink, so they can have it, but they can add it to their smoothie. They can have 2 capsules before they, head out the door every day. So. And
that was like a cost per serving problem that we wanted to solve as well. Like we had a lot of people reach out to us, say, hey, I've got a, ADHD son, and we would like to consume this regularly, but we can't afford a $7 drink, twice a day. And so we thought, okay, what's the most cost-effective format that we could put it into? And that's how we developed our smoothie powder and our capsules. So it's like, making sure that we can still provide accessibility to kind of lower socioeconomic demographics as well.
Cool. I mean, then people get to use it in whatever format they want. So I'm a regular smoothie drinker, so that's I can see that being really attractive.
Nice.
Exporting seems to be a key focus for the business. Can you tell us about the process that it took to get into Coles, which is most people on the call will know, but it's one of Australia's biggest supermarket chains. And then, how do you think about building that export business further?
Yeah, Coles was done during lockdown as well, so there's
another
challenging.
Element.
So kind of the usual hustle that most food and beverage companies take to get onto the shelves of these big export customers is you just got to hustle and find the buyer's email. And it's like, who do I know that already sells to Coles that could give me this buyer's email? And so luckily we had a friend that knew someone, and we got the email, and then you basically just spend like, a solid hour crafting the most perfect pitch to these buyers to hit them in the middle of the eyes, to make sure that you're saying all the right stuff that they want to hear to get you in with a Zoom meeting. And so for us is that, we're the category leader in New Zealand. We're a high return on shelf space. We do clinical research. There's like no substitutability for us. And we want to look at launching into kind of mass market Australia through Coles. And so they, they were on the hook, and then jumped on a call and sent the buyer some samples. And then, we were selling on the shelves of about, I think like 180 or 200 Coles as like a trial. And for reference, there's about 900 Coles in total. So we're still, I think we're about just under 300 with them at the moment. And it was a pretty, I think because of the proposition and the uniqueness, they were really keen to give it a go. But it's like 1 point for getting listed, and then 9 points for surviving the first 12 weeks. And so we had to kind of remotely organize, merchandisers if and when they could get into the store, because they put you into all these stores, but your product's still not even on the shelf sometimes, and it's out the back, and it's just an absolute mess. So we had to organize, merchandisers. We had to kind of organize from, the comfort of our own homes, because we couldn't get out anywhere, some above the line marketing, really focusing on geo-targeted advertising with our online store and our online advertising, and then, work with a PR agency to try and make an announcement. But it's the graft being a New Zealand company, trying to sell in Australia. The margins are worse. The buyers have a worse attitude, so you kind of have to be Australian in Australia, and Kiwi in New Zealand, and then an American in America. And so we've learned a lot, and we haven't been amazing at the execution, but we've taken those learnings, and we kind of have a really good understanding now about what the key tools are to succeed in a supermarket.
Do you have a local advocate, or is it all done remotely from New Zealand?
Oh, no. So now we've got 4 staff in Australia. We actually signed that the world-renowned neuroscientist did the formula. We kept in touch and kept feeding him our clinical research, and he was so impressed he left the comfort of working at the university, and he's jumped on board as our chief science officer. And 2 days after we signed him, Coca-Cola's head office in Atlanta tried to reach out to him and poach him to set up their own neuroscience division. So we know we've got the right guy on board that does that. And then we've got a sales and marketing team in Sydney that on the ground and executing what we need to do on the ground.
Fantastic. I can imagine it getting the momentum behind locally for those first 12 weeks being a real challenge, especially if you're stuck at home.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I reached out to the Facebook pages of Kiwis in Sydney, Kiwis in Brisbane, Kiwis in anywhere.
Check it out.
And just be like, kia ora whanau, we've just only Kiwi company, because we are still the only New Zealand company on the chilled shelves of Coles and Woolworths. We're the only drink there that's competing against all these Australians, and just said, we've got this brain drink, we've got these science and these benefits. Please go to your local, and if you could do some merchandising for us, that'd be great. And if you could just try us, that'd be fantastic. And
buy
tell
heaps
your
of
friends. It. Yeah, and the communities on Facebook were really, really helpful and supported us. So just doing stuff like that to get the ball rolling.
Awesome. How important is IP for you guys and protecting your IP? If you're putting so much energy and money into research, and I assume you want to make sure that it stays yours.
Yeah, it's pretty important. We when we did our first clinical study, we found that there was a unique benefit that hadn't quite been identified in the literature, and so that allowed us to file a patent. And with that, now we've got a number of patents around the formulation of our product, as well as kind of identifying some bioactives in the formula that are responsible for some of these therapeutic benefits. So we're on a journey around kind of our patent applications, and we've been lucky to have them granted in New Zealand, Australia, and the UK now, which is really good. And we've been able to use those patents and enforce, which means there's actually true value in them. We publish clinical research on our finished formula, so that's like IP in its own self, because no one can use that piece of clinical research. And then we kind of vertically integrate with our supply chain, so there's supply exclusivities that we have that also contribute to our IP moat. So it is really, really important. There's not much point doing a study if someone can just use that study and kind of rip your product off. Yeah, 100%.
Okay, and that's an interesting one. The supply exclusivity, and that's to do with obviously the berries and the other elements that you use and compounds you use to produce the drink.
Yeah. So the company that does the pine bark extracts, they're like the best in the world, we think, at pine bark extract, and so they've invested, and then they have given us exclusive rights to their pine bark for the use in brain drinks. Right. And then we've got one of the largest blackcurrant growers in the country who's invested in us, and he's a really good grower of these kind of neuroberry varieties that we're looking at. So that in itself has benefits. So
by investing in you, it sort of aligns the relationship at a deeper level, right? You're not just a purchaser then.
Yeah.
Their success is your success.
We're a preferred customer.
Yeah, indeed. And when you think about investing, you mentioned the former Zespri CEO, Dan Matheson, but also you've got Stephen Adams on board. Is that true?
Yeah. So he tipped in a bit, and I think he'll be one of the bigger food tech, agri-tech investors in New Zealand over the next 5 years. He's really passionate about this space, and I think he just wants to, when he wants to retire and have blackcurrant and kiwi fruit farms around the world, and look into agri-tech and horticulture more deeply. But the interaction there came from him sliding into our DMs on Instagram and was like, "Kia ora, do you guys ship to the US?" And it was kind of like our marketing person forwarded the Instagram message, and we were just like,
someone called Stephen Adams.
It was like, Steve, mate, if you're on the moon, we would ship to you. So of course we can send you some products, because we're batch tested and we supply a number of elite athletes, and there are some performance benefits that we've shown in research. And we sent him some product and just kind of kept in touch. And then his kind of manager reached out and said, "Hey, just if next time you guys are doing a round, would like to learn more." And they came on board in the last capital raise. Awesome.
And so, how do you think about financing? Because obviously, as you scale up, you need capital and cash flow to scale up alongside it. You've done your Series A. Where are you now?
Pre-Series A.
Yeah. Pre-Series A, is it?
Yeah. So we just finished we're just finishing basically the pre-Series A, which was the end of last year.
Yep.
And our kind of strategy our short-term strategy as a business is bringing, New Zealand is running a profitable business, and the next stage is to bring Australia up to profitability this financial year, or this coming financial year. And then we'll be looking to do another larger raise. That's when we'll be doing our Series A.
Yep.
After the end of that financial year. But the idea for us is to also start really getting the economics right, so the markets can self-funding the next market. So that's kind of the longer term strategy. It's not like every time we want to go into a new market, we want to raise capital for that. We want to kind of get ourselves to a space where we've got enough large markets that they can be funding the next market and the next market after that.
And then we've also looked at companies like Wayflyer that we can get small loans from, say $200K to fund our e-commerce, which has been great. And they just plug in and mine our e-commerce data, which we're fine with, because they loan us money better than what the bank will.
Correction on the mining, they're not mining our data. They're more actually looking to make sure that they'll make their money back. So they go through and actually see if you're a viable business. Viable business. Not actually looking at they're not looking at our customers' data. They're actually just going, okay, cool. They're deep e-commerce experts, and they can see our run rates and our cost of acquisition. They go, if we give them 200, they'll pay us back in 3 months or whatever. So,
and then we've got a pretty good relationship with our bank, BNZ, who have been supporters of us a lot earlier than probably what banks would be for companies at our age and stage. And so we've got a facility there that helps to pay for the inventory to develop the goods for these bigger orders from the customers like Woolworths and Coles.
Have you found now that you've got supporters who are high profile that it's easier to get more supporters on board? Or?
Yeah, I think money follows money, and money follows capability. So it's an easier conversation when you say you've got a Zespri CEO as an investor and director. I think it's been really valuable. It definitely helps, and that's why we've been really, really picky, and we've said no a lot, because there's a lot of just blind money out there, but with no capability. We've always been trying to find money plus capability.
Which actually is a beautiful segue to my next question, which was mentoring and support systems. And how have you sort of skilled yourselves up through it? And have you relied on government institutions or other organisations to, open doors, develop your own leadership abilities, that sort of stuff that you need to take the business forward?
Having a good board around us has been really, really beneficial. And we've got a network of investors that have been, really great advisors to us over the years. Certainly the likes of NZTE and Callaghan have been really, really helpful to us, heading down our export and R&D journeys. And then, because we run a co-CEO model, we kind of support each other. It's not like one person's
you don't have to do it all.
In the firing line, we're kind of both in the firing line, and that kind of helps us to
keeps each other in check and keeps, I guess, not there's any egos, but keeps us humble as well when we just and keep the big thing is keeping each other in check and lifting each other up and giving each other pointers as well. But we still have good support network of and I guess Angus and I are not afraid to pick up the phone and ask someone a question. We're not thinking, we have to figure this out ourselves. We'll call friends, we'll call other people in other businesses who are in similar positions to get their they come across this problem before, how would they deal with it? And
crack the code.
And we kind of we dial up and down contractors who are like experts in their industry or in what we need them to be. So we've been really lucky where our virtual CFO is Dave Anderson. He was CFO at Goodman Fielder and Icebreaker. We've got an art director who helped with our new rebranding, Simon Andreas, who was the founder of Red Antler Studio in New York, and he did the branding for Allbirds. So he came on board as a small investor and kind of like our kind of guide for the brand shift that we've done. And then some of our other investors own Abe's Bagels, and they, they're a really large bagel business supplying to these same customers, Woolworths and Coles. And so they've been really helpful with upskilling us in terms of the right type of capability that we need to have to execute well in those supermarkets.
And open doors often, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. When the pandemic kind of kicked in, how did you guys approach it? And did you were you able to, did much change, or were you just keep going as you were? Yeah,
so for the pandemic, obviously before we were in Coles, we were basically just in supermarket and cafes for retail, and then online. And so obviously, like a lot of businesses in New Zealand, they focus very, hard online, and we kind of did a similar thing there. Like our sales team who was out there on the road, they couldn't do that, so we all kind of just bunkered down. At that time, there was only 4 of us working on it full time, and we just became a big focus on the e-commerce side. So we kind of all, lifted our socks, and like at that time, e-commerce kind of lived under me for a while, and then it was good to have everyone kind of, coming up with ideas, and working on emails, and we just kept improving. And there was a good lift in the e-commerce side. And then we because the consumer behavior in retail, obviously with COVID changed. They weren't, especially in the early days, they weren't out looking for a brain drink. They were looking to hoard toilet paper. So the mindset had changed, but online is actually where that really helped us focus on building a really kind of substantial part of the business that's now, as we've grown up, and then, I guess retail has picked up and well overtaken that again, we still have a really strong base of understanding e-commerce, and it really helps, I guess, giving that more depth for our customers as well. We can, they can ask us questions and, about their particular situation, and that's what, like, I guess kind of the early days, especially the early days of COVID, obviously it lasted for a long time, but the first year we really kind of picked up on the e-commerce side.
And the consumer kind of need, they became more stressed. They became, there was a heightened increase of awareness of foods that boosted the immune system, and we kind of like smack bang in the middle of that. So, our product fit was perfect for a kind of stressed out COVID consumer as well.
Yeah, you hear that quite a bit, that obviously businesses did a lot of online work and building the online channel, and during the COVID period, but you'd think with retail coming on board, it would fall. But it seems that that's not so much the case. It's just for a lot of people, or a lot of businesses now, both are strong.
Yeah.
And they're competing internally for capital, really. Which one are you going to spend your time on?
That's a good debate that happens quite a lot when we're talking about marketing spend.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. That like we've since then, like I guess there are a lot of businesses that had, the COVID online spike, and then it kind of dropped down and is sitting back. But ours kind of lifted, and then it's just continually, steadily growing month on month, which is showing that that channel was super viable, and it wasn't just a moment in time with everyone shopping online.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, hey, last question for me. It's been an awesome chat. What would your advice be to young, or maybe not young, Kiwi entrepreneurs thinking about building a business and taking it to the world so far?
Don't do it.
Normally it's get into it.
Be very afraid. No, I think define what makes you unique. Invest in science and technology to improve that uniqueness and try and protect it, and ensure that what you're trying to do is scalable. Would probably be my advice.
For me, would be product first, really making sure you have a really good product that people want. It would be the first thing to really focus on. And then once you've got that, really focus on like a team actually. Angus and I have obviously we're together in the days, but we've been lucky to build a really good team around us, and the people, it's not just about, it's the right people. It's not about just getting people in. You've got to make sure it's the right people. I think that's don't be afraid of hiring, because as an entrepreneur, you're scared. You look at the P&Ls and you're like, oh my God, I can't afford
to make this work.
Yeah. But it does, they do help. A great team member helps move the flywheel faster, really.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Angus, Zac, thank you so much for your time. It's been an awesome chat, and I look forward to seeing your business grow and thrive and enjoying one of your drinks again soon.
Cool.
Cheers,
Thank
mate.
you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Cheers.
Thanks.
This has been The Monday Call, brought to you by NZ Funds. New Zealand Funds Management Limited is the issuer of the NZ Funds KiwiSaver scheme, the NZ Funds Managed Superannuation Service, the NZ Funds Advice Portfolio Service, the NZ Funds Wealth Builder, and NZ Funds Income Generator. A product disclosure statement for each is available at nzfunds.co.nz. Past performance is not necessarily an indicator of future returns.